Good afternoon and welcome to the Software Engineering Institute's webinar series. My name is Shane McGraw and I'd like to thank you all for attending today's webinar. And our webinar series presentation today is Ask the CMMI Experts, conducted by panelists Mary Beth Christis, Eileen Forrester, Mike Conrad, Mike Phillips, and Rusty Young. So we have everybody in the room here today, folks. So make the most of it. They're obviously very busy people, so we got some good questions that they'll give some answers for. Like I said, we encourage your participation, so feel free to type in questions as we go along as well. Okay, so that is enough for me. We're going to dive right into the questions. Question one from Sandra, asking, how do I decide which CMMI model to use? And Mike Phillips, we're going to pass that one to you to start us off.
Well, I think you're going to hear from each of us that there are many ways that an organization can examine what parts of the models that we have, the constellations as we call them, are most suited for the activities that are going on in your organization. We've even posted very recently a new white paper in order to get at these ideas. We think that all three of the constellations are highly integrated with each other. So then there are specializations within, and I've asked my team, I've gone on to work on one of those myself a little more heavily in acquisition, because of the number of organizations, particularly in government, where that is their job, is to acquire things. But that is just one of the three. With that, let's go on, and Eileen is closest to me, so let's talk a little bit about the services model as well.
Okay. So first of all, I want to emphasize that we don't have a policy at the SEI where we have to approve which model you use. So this really is a user's choice. When we began adding models like the services model and the acquisition model, some organizations needed to transition, so that's one of the issues that we see. And a lot of times they seem to make that choice based on how they view their fundamental mission. So many organizations do a mix of things. Almost everybody buys things. But lots of organizations do development as well as service, and so it's a matter of where their emphasis might best be put in order to get the improvements that they're looking for. And it is possible to use these models in combination. It's not that you have to choose only one. We're seeing a great deal of joint use, sometimes of all three, but certainly pairs of these models. And we also see PCMM and RMM, two other SEI models, included as well.
Yeah, good comments. I think I would add that one way to view the future is that this globalization, interconnectedness, and interdependencies are only going to increase. And so relationships of who develops, who acquires, who provides are going to change. They're going to be in some degree of flux, and we're going to have multiple organizations needing to wear all three hats, that of acquirer, that of a product or service system developer, that of providing services. And so I have a very agnostic view that I believe all the models should be used there are situations that might favor one, but I have this very broad view of all the models, including the ones that Eileen mentioned. People CMM provides some very good practices for workforce management and innovation, and the resilience management model, the RMM. All those, I think, also provide some good cybersecurity, business continuity type attention.
Okay, question number two, coming to us from Pradeep, asking, what is an appraisal class? And Rusty, we will turn the microphone to you.
There are three different classes of appraisal in the CMMI family covered by the ARC, and the difference between the three are in the rigor with which the examination of the evidence is done and the amount of evidence that's required to show compliance. For example, in the Class A, you have to have a minimum of 4 people on the team, and you have to show evidence both, and this depends upon what version you're in. In 1.2, direct, and then an indirect and or artifact for each of the practices. In version 1.3, depending upon the sampling, show a direct and affirmation, or a direct or an indirect, depending upon where you are in the sampling. For a Class B Scampi, you have a team of up to a minimum team of 2 people, and the evidence required is much less, where you only really need to show one evidence for each practice, one piece of evidence for each practice. A Class C can be done by a single person, and a Class C, you can, A and B, you also have to look at whole process areas. Class C, you can also look at individual practices, and you just need one type of evidence, either a direct or an indirect, for each practice you're looking at. So it's really, the Class A is a rigorous benchmarking type of appraisal, to a Class C, which is more intended to be a discovery type appraisal, looking at what is in an organization, what their approach is to doing process improvement. And then a Class B is typically used for progress, measuring progress and reporting on progress.